So, when did you fall in love with Christ?
So I actually came to love Christ in 2020. 2020 was a big year for me, absolute life changer.
When I fell in love with Christ, it was a couple years ago when I first started fasting.
This is really a difficult question for me to answer because unlike some people, I don't have an exact time, date. It all started on my mom just telling me stories about Jesus, who he was, all the miracles he did, everything he was doing for people since a young age, how he wanted to get to know God more.
I fell in love with Christ at the age of 16 when I joined the ALC family.
The day I fell in love with Jesus was the day that I fully understood his dying on the cross.
Ever since then, I felt a lot more peaceful and hopeful.
Since I was little, since I can remember, I've been in the church. Both my parents are pastors. My uncle is a pastor. My grandparents are pastors. Every adult figure I have in my life was a pastor. And I was just like, oh, Mom, you gotta get me a Bible. So she was like, okay, I'll order you a Bible. So a few days later, the Bible came. I was reading it, but it wasn't like a real Bible with verses or scriptures or nothing. It was just stories about Jesus in a comic. So of course I was kind of raised with the mindset of, God is God, and you love him, and he loves you. That's just that, period.
I'd obviously learned about it when I was younger, but it wasn't until I stopped to think about it that I fully understood the way of his actions.
When I turned maybe 12 or 13, thereabouts, around that age, I started thinking okay, everybody who's adult in my life is a pastor. Now what does that have to do with me?
I came into 2020 doubtful though, and that is in my faith because I didn't understand, how you were supposed to be a Christian. I was very shaky in my faith.
I went to my mom, I was like, Mom, you gotta get me a real Bible. So she was like, oh, you have to ask your uncle about that one. And I started thinking, well, is my love for God my love for God? I want my relationship with God to be my relationship with God.
But it was the quarantine that really just touched me. The quarantine, before we had went into it, I had the mindset of, okay, I don't know how long I'm gonna be in this quarantine, but I'm gonna come out of it stronger.
Of course, I love God, but I wasn't my actions weren't for God. Even though they would probably please God if they were for God. But my actions were for the people who expected me to act that way. So after taking that step back and realizing, okay, what do I want my relationship with God to look like? I was like, I wanted him to be a protector and a friend. Because, I'm most comfortable around my friends. I'm most sharing with my friends.
This is the creed that I, had set forth. By the grace of God, I prayed this prayer almost for days and days before it. And I did things during that quarantine that I didn't think I'd ever do. I'm talking studying biblical doctrine, got into my word a lot more, worship music only. I realized how essential prayer was.
So one day we were in Sunday school at ALC in children's ministry. I saw a wrapped Bible. It was a new Bible. No one had touched it. It was clean, fresh. So I just took it and I went to Uncle PT, my uncle, and then he was like, I was like, can I please have this? He was like, oh sure, you can have it.
And this was the ignition, This is what set me forward. This is the reason why I am here today, in terms of my faith.
And once I did, I just felt so honored that even centuries before my birth, someone would die just so I could live a good life.
So I became closer to God. And I felt like he's helped me become a better person overall.
And I give all thanks to Pastor Danny because he helped me so much on building my bond with Christ and gave me wonderful guidance.
All the things my mom was telling me, I was like, I gotta get to the roots of how all of this happened. I want to understand everything. So I was reading my Bible constantly, and I'm still reading it to this day.
And once I learned more about Jesus' miracles, that love and hope and honor just kept growing stronger and stronger until I knew that wholeheartedly that Jesus was my Lord and Savior, and he loves me too.
And I just know and believe that Christ died on the cross for my sins, and I accept him as my Lord and Savior. Because I know, even when I've done wrong, he still loves me unconditionally, and he showed me so many times that he is here for me.
It is still a battle, it is still a walk, but I am so appreciative, and that is just how I came to love Christ.
So that was really when my love for God was mine.
And I will forever love Jesus Christ in eternity, because I just know without him, I would still be struggling on